There are buildings that become empty and buildings that become quiet. The Morrow Hotel was both. It stood at the end of Calder Street for 40 years, 12 floors of green marble, brass elevators, and windows that reflected the city like dark water. It closed after a fire in the laundry room. No one died, according to the newspapers. Still, every company that tried to renovate it abandoned the place within a month. Elias Venn took the night maintenance job because the pay was almost double, and because the manager promised he would never work alone. The manager lied. On his first night, Elias received a call from the hotel's dead telephone exchange. The cord was cut. The buttons were yellow with age. Yet the phone rang at 2:17 in the morning. He almost ignored it. Then it rang again. When he picked up, he heard rain. Not outside rain, but rain inside a narrow hallway. A woman whispered, "You left the light on upstairs." Elias looked toward the elevators. Both doors were closed. "Please come and turn it off," she said. The line went dead. A moment later, the elevator on the left opened by itself. Its display showed 13. The Morrow Hotel only had 12 floors.
Elias did what people do when something impossible happens in a place they are being paid to protect. He searched for a reasonable explanation. Maybe the display was malfunctioning. Maybe there had once been a 13th floor. He told himself these things while stepping into the elevator. The doors closed with a soft, padded sigh. Inside, the panel contained buttons for the lobby through 12. Beneath them was a narrow brass plate with no number at all. Elias pressed it. The elevator began to rise. The floor numbers changed normally. 7, 8, 9. Then the lights flickered, and the display became a single horizontal line. The elevator stopped. When the doors opened, Elias saw a hallway covered in faded blue carpet. Closed hotel doors lined the walls. At the far end, a green exit sign buzzed above a stairwell. The air smelled of wet plaster and old roses. Elias stepped out just far enough to see a brass room plaque, 1308. Beside it hung a family photograph. A father stood in front of the Morrow Hotel. Elias recognized the face. It was his own, only older. A child beside him held a brass keyring. From somewhere down the hallway, a door clicked open. Elias backed into the elevator. Before the doors closed, a voice behind him said, "You're early." The display changed from 13 to 1.
Elias reached the lobby at 2:26. He ran to the front desk and switched on every lamp. The dead telephone sat exactly where he had left it, silent and dry. He checked the elevator camera. The monitor showed Elias entering the car, standing alone, and returning to the lobby 9 minutes later. There was no 13th floor, no hallway, only a burst of static between 12 and 1. Then Elias noticed something in the corner of the screen. A second figure stood behind him, inside the elevator. It was too tall, too thin, and blurred by the static. Its head leaned toward Elias's ear, as if listening to words he had not spoken. Elias rewound the footage. The figure was gone. He rewound it again. This time, it was closer. On the third replay, it faced the camera. Where its face should have been was a dark rectangle, like an unlit doorway. The front desk phone rang. Elias stared until the ringing stopped. Then the lobby lights went out one by one. In the darkness, the elevator bell chimed. Its doors opened, but the lobby beyond was wrong. Blue carpet covered the floor. Doors lined the walls. On the nearest door, someone had scratched a message. Elias Venn. Checkout time, 2:17. His flashlight dimmed. From inside the elevator, the woman whispered, "You left the light on." Elias did not enter the elevator. He ran through the lobby doors and found himself outside beneath the rain. Calder Street was empty. The city beyond it was dark, but not asleep. Traffic lights changed for no cars. Apartment windows glowed in buildings he had never seen. He called the manager. The phone answered on the first ring. "Listen carefully," the manager said. His voice sounded distant, as if coming through a long pipe. Elias asked where he was.
"The lobby," the manager replied. "For now." Then he said the Morrow's 13th floor appeared only to employees who had been inside after 2:17. It was not on blueprints, and stairs could not reach it. "The hotel has rules," he said. "Never answer after the telephone rings 3 times. Never look into an open room. If you hear someone using your name, do not turn around." Elias asked why. "Because the hotel is studying you." Behind him, a wet footprint appeared on the marble. Then another. They led toward the elevator. "Most important," the manager said, "if you see yourself, let it pass." The call ended. A figure crossed the glass doors. It wore Elias's navy jacket and walked with his limp. Then the dead telephone rang once, twice, 3 times. Elias reached for the receiver anyway.
The voice on the phone was Elias's own. "I'm in room 1308, it said. "I found the light." Elias hung up. The elevator doors opened behind him. He knew he should leave, but the street outside had begun to repeat. The same taxi passed every 30 seconds. The same woman in a yellow coat walked past the hotel, stopped, and walked past again. The city had become a loop. The Morrow was the only place that still changed. Elias entered the elevator. The 13th floor plate was already pressed. This time, the hallway was brighter. Every door stood closed except 1308. Warm yellow light spilled across the blue carpet. From inside came the faint sound of a child humming. Elias remembered the boy in the family photograph, holding a brass key ring. He walked to the open doorway without looking inside. Family photographs covered the room's wall. In each one, the same boy stood, a little older. In the final photograph, the boy was Elias, as he looked now. Beside him stood the faceless figure from the security footage. The humming stopped. A child's voice said, "You promised you would come back." A brass key lay near Elias's shoe. Its tag read 0000. From inside, his own voice said, "Elias, look at me." He closed his eyes. Something moved past him, close enough to stir his hair. When he opened his eyes, the door was closed. The key was in his hand. The key marked 0000 opened a door at the end of the hallway that had not been there before. Beyond it was a concrete stairwell descending into darkness. Elias pointed his flashlight downward. The steps continued farther than the building could possibly extend. Every landing carried a familiar number, 12, 11, 10, but the numbers were reversed. He passed 12, then 12 again, then 12 once more. Each landing had a narrow window showing the lobby below. In the first window, the lobby was empty. In the second, Elias stood behind the front desk. In the third, Elias was on the telephone. He kept descending. The manager's voice floated up through the stairwell. "You are almost finished." Elias asked what the hotel wanted. "It wants a night clerk," the voice replied. "Someone who knows the rooms. Someone who can answer when the guests call." At the next landing, employee badges covered the wall. Hundreds of them. Every badge belonged to someone who had worked at the Morrow after midnight. The newest badge was blank. Elias picked it up. His photograph appeared a second later. The name beneath it read, Elias Morrow. His flashlight went out. In the dark, the woman spoke from somewhere on the stairs. "You left the light on upstairs." Elias felt a cold hand close around his wrist. It had his pulse. He pulled away and ran downward until he reached a door marked lobby. He opened it. Someone was waiting behind the desk. The person behind the desk looked exactly like Elias, except for the eyes. They were pale and reflective, like 2 elevator buttons catching the light. The other Elias smiled. "You're late." Elias turned away immediately. The rules said not to look when the hotel showed him himself. He kept his gaze on the marble floor and moved toward the front entrance. The other Elias followed without footsteps. "You can go," it said, "but if you leave, the hotel will forget the way back." Elias reached the doors. They were locked from the outside. Through the glass, he saw Calder Street, rain, traffic lights, and the yellow-coated woman walking in a perfect circle. On the far side of the road, a little boy stood beneath an umbrella. He held a brass key ring and pointed toward the hotel. Behind Elias, a phone began ringing, then another, then dozens of phones rang from every floor at once. The other Elias leaned close to his shoulder.
Answer one, it whispered. Only one. The front doors unlocked. Elias ran outside. The rain stopped the instant he crossed the threshold. He looked back. Every hotel window was lit. Behind each pane stood a motionless person facing outward. In the highest window, Elias saw himself holding a telephone. He ran down Calder Street, reached the subway, and stepped onto a waiting train. The route map above him had one extra station. Morrow Hotel. Next stop. Elias woke on the train with his head against the window. The carriage was empty. His brass keyring sat in his lap, though he did not remember taking it from the hotel. The train had stopped at an underground platform with no name. Old advertisements peeled from the walls. Beneath them, someone had written a date in black marker. It was tomorrow's date. Elias checked his phone. The screen showed 2:17 a.m. He had been inside the hotel for less than an hour, but the battery had lost 11 hours. His messages were filled with missed calls from a number labeled home. He called it back. His mother answered. She had been dead for 6 years. Elias, she said, the light in your room is still on. He dropped the phone. From the tunnel came the sound of an approaching train. Its headlights appeared, but the rails remained still. When the train arrived, every window showed a different room in the Morrow Hotel. Room 204, room 711, room 1308. In the final window, Elias saw the front desk and the other Elias waiting beside the dead telephone. A recorded announcement said, "Please mind the gap between the life you remember and the life that remembers you." The platform lights went dark, one after another. At the far end, the little boy appeared again, wearing Elias's navy jacket. He lifted his face. It was Elias's face as a child. "You promised you would come back," he said. The train doors closed, taking the hotel with them. Elias reached his apartment just before dawn. The door was unlocked. Inside, everything looked normal. The narrow hallway, the chipped kitchen table, the photograph of his mother beside the sink. Only one thing had changed. The light in his bedroom was on. He had left it off. Elias stood in the doorway and listened. Something inside the room was breathing slowly. The sound matched his own breathing, but the pauses were wrong. It inhaled when he exhaled. On the floor lay a trail of wet footprints. They began at the apartment door and ended beside his bed. Elias called the hotel manager. The number no longer existed. He called the police. The dispatcher answered with the woman's voice from the elevator. "Please come and turn it off," she said. Elias backed into the living room. The bedroom light flickered. Under the door, a shadow stretched into the hallway, shaped like a person standing close on the other side. A voice spoke from inside the room. It was his voice. "I found the way home." The brass key in Elias' hand grew warm. Its tag, once marked 0000, now read 1308. Behind him, the front door clicked shut. The apartment hallway lengthened. The kitchen walls faded into blue carpet. New doors appeared where the windows had been. Elias ran toward the exit, but every doorway opened onto another version of his apartment. In the last one, the other Elias stood behind the front desk. The dead telephone rang. Elias answered. The manager said, "Your shift begins now." At 2:17, the Morrow Hotel appeared on every television in Calder City. The screens showed the front desk. Behind it sat Elias Venn, wearing his faded navy jacket, one hand resting on the dead telephone. He looked tired. He looked frightened. But when the camera moved closer, he smiled. The broadcast lasted 13 minutes. No one could explain where it came from. The hotel had been demolished the following morning, according to city records. The lot was empty. There was no rubble, no foundation, and no sign that the building had ever stood there. But people still called the number printed on old Morrow brochures. They said a man answered. They said he spoke softly and asked whether the light had been left on. Elias's apartment was found unlocked. The bedroom light was burning. On the wall, written in damp fingerprints, were 4 words. Checkout time, 2:17. The brass keyring was never recovered. A year later, a night inspector working in a new hotel on the same block heard a telephone ringing behind the front desk. The line had not been connected. He picked up the receiver. He heard rain. Then Elias whispered, "You're early." The inspector looked toward the elevator. The display showed 13. The doors opened on a blue carpeted hallway. At the far end stood a little boy in a faded navy jacket. He held a brass keyring and watched with Elias's tired eyes. The boy raised one finger to his lips